Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Goldie Show. Happy Monday for those of you who are watching this live. I hope you guys had a great weekend and a safe and happy Halloween. So, today we're going to go back and focus a little bit on Canada because there is a very serious radicalization problem happening in Canada. And it's something that a lot of us Iranian Canadians have been raising the alarms about, and yet we haven't really been taken seriously. Many of us who speak out were accused of Islamophobia, all that nonsense to try and silence us. But there is actually a really big problem, and it seems as if um, Canadians are starting to wake up to that fact. Now, here is an article from Joe Adam George, and he posted this today actually. In Canada, radicalization is happening in plain sight. So I wanted to share this article with you, and then we're going to dig in a little bit into the Islamic radicalization problem in Canada. I'm going to point it out to you. I'm going to share who is doing it. I'm also going to talk a little bit about who is behind it. So, this is going to be part one of a series where we start to expose Islamic radicalization and jihad in Canada. So, we're going to begin here with this article from Joe Adam George, where he writes In Canada, radicalization is happening in plain sight. A Windsor, Ontario mosque recently venerated slain terror leader Hassan Nasrallah. Now, as you guys might know, Hassan Nasrallah was the leader of Hezbollah. Hezbollah, which literally translates into the party of Allah or Hizb Allah, is an Islamic terrorist group. It is literally listed as an Islamic terrorist group in Canada. Okay, so it is on the Canadian terror list. And yet, we have mosques in Canada who are celebrating and honoring the so called Islamic terrorists and referring to them as martyrs. So, that right there should start sending some red flags, right? It is not normal. This is not normal behavior. And the fact that this is happening quietly behind closed doors in mosques, that should be sending a message to you, right? Because it's one thing to practice your religion, but it is another thing to glorify and honor terrorists, right? Again, this isn't something that's happening in southern Lebanon, which is Hezbollah occupied territory. This is something that is happening right here in Canada. Okay, there are literally people who have come to Canada who are going into mosques and they are um, holding vigils for Islamic terrorists who were slain by Israel. First of all, I want to give a big shout out to Israel. Thank you for exterminating Hassan Nasrallah like the cockroach that he was. He did many people in the Middle East a huge favor by doing so because Hezbollah is one of the proxy militia groups of the Islamic Republic, right? So Hezbollah is fully funded by the Islamic Republic, which is occupying my birth country of Iran. Remember that, guys. All of these Islamic groups are related. So Israel did all of us a huge favor, did all of us a huge favor by getting rid of Hezbollah. And yet we literally have mosques in Canada who are glorifying this so-called martyr. Guys, it is very dangerous, okay? And you have to ask yourselves if these people are so opposed to Western values, if these people are so opposed to Western society and custom, why are they immigrating to Canada and then glorifying these Islamic terrorists behind closed doors in their mosques, right? So let's start reading this article a little bit here. Oh, I got to register and sign in to read this article. Don't worry, guys. I have a way of getting around this. Just give me one moment here. Okay. I will bring up this article. I do have another link to it. Okay, here we go. All right, guys. Always have an answer for everything here. So let me make this a bit smaller. Okay, so here we go, guys. Last month, the Ahlul Bayt Mosque, a prominent Shiite Islamic center in Windsor, Ontario, held a memorial to mark the first anniversary of slain Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah's death. Let's see what the link to the memorial looks like here. Okay, here we go. Guys, if you're not following Memory TV, I strongly encourage you guys. They are on X. I actually do have a few videos of Memory TV that I'm going to be playing during this episode here. But Memory TV is a very, very good website to follow. They're basically an organization. They track and they monitor Islamic terrorism and radicalism in the Middle East and around the world. So what Memory TV does is they will find videos that people have taken, and then they'll translate that and put it into English. So let's listen to what Memory TV actually broadcast here. So they write, in Windsor, Ontario, Shiite mosque marks anniversary of martyrdom of Hezbollah leader Nasrallah. This generation of Canadian Muslim youth. Okay, so this is what they say. So this is what this person says in this mosque about Hassan Nasrallah. Okay. This generation of Canadian Muslim youth knows its rights, is fearless in declaring that Nasrallah is their martyred leader and hero. We vow to continue on his path of resistance. We are at your service, Nasrallah. So they are openly glorifying Hezbollah. And Yoav, so Yoav asks, is Hezbollah recognized as a terror group in Canada? 100%. 100%. Hezbollah is a recognized terrorist group in Canada. So the fact that you now have people in Canadian mosques who are openly glorifying and celebrating these Islamic terrorists, that is a problem, guys. Okay, like the Canadian government in the last 10 years has literally mass imported people who are the enemies of Western civilization, who are people who want to call, want jihad. They are now literally in Canada and they are honoring and glorifying Islamic terrorists. Again, this isn't something that I have said. Even the Canadian government has recognized that Hezbollah is a terrorist group. Hassan Nasrallah was a terrorist and a war criminal. And yet you have people who are honoring not just this martyr, the quote unquote martyr, they're honoring this Islamic terrorist by claiming he's a martyr, but they're calling for jihad. They're basically saying the Canadian Muslim youth are going to continue their Islamic jihad and terrorism in Canada. So let's just listen to, I guess, what was being said here at this mosque in Windsor, Ontario. I don't know if there's audio coming here. Let's see. I'm not getting an audio here from this. I'm not hearing an audio on my end. Huh. Okay. So I'm not getting an audio here. The video's not showing me audio for some reason, but I'll read out what it says here. So this is the memorial for Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah at the Al Bayt Mosque in Windsor, Ontario. And here they are saying, so Muslims fear to speak out after So Muslims fear to speak out after 9/11. Guys, who did 9/11? It was Islamic terrorists, right? Again, this is the radicals playing the victim card here. They loved the resistance, but whispered about it. So now they're saying that they loved the resistance, but whispered. So the resistance is basically code for jihad, right? So when they talk about globalize the intifada and the resistance, they're referring to Islamic terrorism. They're talking about jihad here. So this is, I'll see if I can find a version of this where they have the audio. But let's go back to the actual newspaper article itself. So now we have established that in this Canadian mosque in Windsor, Ontario, you have a bunch of, I guess, Muslims who have gathered together, not only to uh, not only to honor an Islamic terrorist, right? Hassan Nasrallah. Again, Hezbollah is a listed terror entity in Canada. Not only are they gathering to glorify this Islamic terrorist, but they're openly calling for jihad and Islamic terrorism in Canada. Okay, and they're doing this in this mosque in Windsor. So that's definitely a problem, guys, especially since whenever we try to raise awareness about this, there are certain groups that are affiliated um, with these mosques who automatically accuse us of Islamophobia, right? And they do this because they want to silence people who speak out. They want to keep people who are not from the Middle East confused about the difference between Islam and Islamic terrorism. And again, this channel is one where I'm here to raise awareness about Islamic terrorism, right? I'm not here to talk about religion. That's not my purpose, not my intent, not my interest. I believe in freedom of religion. Anyone can have whatever religion they want to have. But when it comes to Islamic terrorism, 100%, I'm going to speak out about that and raise awareness about that. And in fact, there are many people from the Middle East, uh, many of them who are Muslims and Arabs, who are speaking out against Islamic terrorism because they do recognize that it is an inherent problem in Western societies. And the reason it's an inherent problem in Western societies is because people who are not from the Middle East don't understand the difference. And so you have these Islamic terrorists who take advantage of the fact that people who are not from the Middle East don't truly understand what's going on. They take advantage of it. And if you try to criticize or call it out, all of a sudden you're accused of so called Islamophobia. Islamophobia, by the way, is a made up word. There's no such thing. So, this mosque openly glorifying Hassan Nasrallah. Hassan Nasrallah is part of, was the leader of Hezbollah, which is an Islamic terrorist group in Canada. He was exterminated like the cockroach that he was last year by the IDF. Thank you to Israel. We love you, IDF. We love you, Israel. Thank you for exterminating Hassan Nasrallah. So let's go back to the article now. So last month, this is the article from National Post that came out today, and the title is "In Canada, Radicalization is Happening in Plain Sight," and I 100% agree. It's something that I have been speaking out for quite a while. It's one of the reasons that I started this YouTube channel. It's one of the reasons that I do my daily shows at 12 noon is to raise awareness about the radicalization that's happening in plain sight. Hey, oh, I do see a starred comment here. I am a baddie. All right, thank you. I appreciate that, Sikandar. I hope it was worth it to put that message up there for $2. But thank you. I appreciate the thoughts. Um, thank you for supporting the channel. All right. So, last month, the Al Ubaid Mosque, a prominent Shiite Islamic center in Windsor, Ontario, held a memorial to mark the first anniversary of slain Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah's death. It was the second consecutive year the mosque and its affiliated Islamic school has celebrated the life of a dreaded militant whose organization is listed as a terrorist entity under Canadian law. There you have it, folks. There are literally people in Canada who are gathering in mosques. Not all of them, not all of them, by the way, just certain mosques. They are literally gathering in certain mosques and they are openly and brazenly honoring Islamic terrorists right here in Canadian soil. This is horrifying to me, guys. This is horrifying to me because this is not something that we would have seen like 15, 20, 30 years ago. Um, the Canada today that I'm seeing is almost becoming unrecognizable to the Canada that my parents immigrated to in 1986. When we immigrated to Canada to escape Islamic radicalism and to escape Islamic terrorism and to escape especially these kinds of people, right? We came to Canada, right? We immigrated to a society that is built upon Judeo Christian values because we do not want to live in that sort of jihadi Islamofascist society where they're constantly yelling death to America, death to Israel, right? Like we don't want that. And unfortunately, our country, Iran, was taken hostage by these Islamic radicals and terrorists in 1979. Something that we are working on very much to, overthrow the Islamic Republic and reclaim our country of Iran. But in the meantime, many of us have escaped to Canada, and not just people from Iran. There are many people from various parts of the Middle East who have immigrated to Western countries to escape that radical Islamist jihadi ideology. And yet, in the last, I would say, 10 to 15 years, we have seen a very steep increase in mass immigration from certain parts of the world where they are importing their jihadi ideology with them. And it's come to the point where they have now become so brazen that they literally think it's okay to honor and glorify Islamic terrorists in their mosques. And, they call it freedom of religion. Uh, it's not freedom of religion to glorify and honor Islamic terrorists, right? That's jihad. But that's how these people are infiltrating Western societies, whether it's Canada, whether it's the UK, whether it's United States, whether it's other countries in Europe. I'm hearing reports of infiltration in New Zealand, in Australia, right? They're going all over and they're importing that same ideology with them. And you have to imagine like how brazen do you have to be and how bold do you have to be to literally glorify and honor Islamic terrorists in a country where glorifying terrorism is banned, and yet they're doing it, and no one is holding them accountable for this. No one, no politician is holding them accountable. The police aren't holding them accountable, and these people are just continuing on. And by the way, these are the same people that are responsible for taking over the streets in Canada, blocking intersections, yelling Allahu Akbar. These are the same people that are responsible for attacking Canadian Jews, even though Canadian Jews have nothing to do with Israel. That these people are the ones who are attacking Canadian Jews, attacking their businesses, going into their communities, causing problems. Literally, like they're literally dressing up as Islamic terrorists and going into Jewish communities and harassing Canadian Jews, even though Canadian Jews have absolutely nothing to do with what's happening in the Middle East. So keep that in mind. So here they are. So for the second year in a row, these Islamic terrorists have gone into this mosque in Windsor, and they are, holding a vigil for the Islamic terrorist Hassan Nasrallah, who was one of the biggest, not just an Islamic terrorist, he was one of the biggest drug dealers in the Middle East, right? As well as responsible for Captagon, and also a huge sex trafficker too, right? Like sex trafficking is a big thing in the Middle East. So let's continue. So again, so they celebrated the life of a dreaded militant whose organization was listed as a terrorist entity under Canadian law. This was not a one-off incident. Okay, so apparently there's an Islamic terrorism problem with this particular mosque in Windsor, Canada. This was not a one-off incident. The mosque has previously hosted events glorifying the late Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khomeini, and other Hezbollah martyrs. So I don't like when they say Iranian because I'm Iranian. Iran is being held hostage by the Islamic Republic. But so this mosque has a tendency of glorifying Islamic terrorism. And the fact here that they are honoring Khomeini, again, Khomeini is the founder of the Islamic Republic occupying Iran. Khomeini is an evil, evil demon man. Let me play you what Khomeini has said about how he wants to take over the entire world. Okay, so this is Khomeini, guys. Let me bring this up again for you if you don't remember. So this is Khomeini, okay? So Khomeini is the founder of the Islamic Republic that took my country of Iran hostage in 1979. Guys, pay attention to what he is saying here in 1979. And then I want to play some of the videos in the mosque where they're glorifying this evil demon man, okay? So this man is basically saying that we don't want patriots. Patriots are the enemy of Islam. We want Muslims, right? So Iran was basically occupied Iran right now is basically where they are operating out of, and they are stealing money that should be going to the Iranian people, and they're using it to fund radicalism in Western countries, including in Canada. I actually even have proof that the Islamic Republic occupying Iran is also funding radicalism in countries like Japan. They even admitted that themselves. I will get to the Japan video in a moment, but just pay attention to what this guy is saying. So he is saying, we don't want patriots. Patriotism is the enemy of Islam. We only want Muslims. Listen to this, guys. This was in 1979. And then when you watch this video, this will give you a little bit of an understanding into why these radicals are now coming into your countries, burning your flags and saying, we only want Islam, we only want Sharia law. This is where the ideology comes from.
اسلام آمده است که این حرفای نامربوط رو از بین ببرد. افراد ملی به درد ما نمیخورن، افراد مسلم به درد ما میخورن. اسلام با ملیت مخالف است. معنی ملیت این است که ما ملت را میخوایم، ملیت را میخوایم و اسلام را نمیخوایم. اون مردی که در
Okay, so there you go. So let me just repeat this. So he's basically, again, listen to this. So he's saying Islam has come to get rid of this useless talk. So the useless talk he's referring to is patriotism, right? So he's saying we don't want patriots. Okay? Then he says patriots are useless to us. We don't want patriots. Patriots are useless to us. We need Muslims, right? And then he says Islam is opposed to patriotism, right? Do you understand now? Are you starting to get the picture here as to why they're coming into your countries and they're burning your flags and they try to delegitimize stable Western societies by, you know, calling it like a settler colonial state, like all that, like Islamist, communist propaganda nonsense, right? They say Islam is opposed to patriotism. Why? Because these people have this plan to basically turn the entire world into this like global Islamic caliphate. And the only way they can do that is by destabilizing your countries and eventually taking over, right? And then he says the very meaning of patriotism is to want the country and not Islam. So this is the founder of the Islamic Republic, right? An evil demon terrorist man, Khomeini, who took Iran hostage in 1979, and overnight he took my country of Iran from, you know, a modern, thriving, secular, democratic society. he turned it into a 7th century Islamic hellhole governed by Sharia law. Now they are trying to import, well, they have imported that ideology into Western countries, and they are now trying to, infiltrate and indoctrinate the youth. So I do see that we have a starred message here. So Yoav says, I heard that a decade ago there were more people drafting to ISIS than the British Royal Army. 100%. There is definitely a lot of people in the UK who were being radicalized, and then they were actually going to Iraq to join ISIS. Not just men, but women as well. And I think there's like a number of women who've now tried to come back, and the UK is not letting them back into the UK. I fully support that. I mean, they decided to go and join like a jihadist Islamist terrorist group. They should just stay there. But yes, there is absolutely a radicalization problem. So now let's go back to this article here, okay? Because again, I want to share this part. So now we saw that video clip from Khomeini, the brutal Islamic dictator. By the way, he was also a pedophile, right? Like he advocated for like pedophilia. So he promoted child marriage. So again, the guy was like a sick, disgusting Islamic pedophile. Um, and it's incredibly disturbing to me that there are people who actually glorify him or who view him as like some sort of, you know, religious cleric or leader, because he was a very filthy person. But so now they say, so this is the same mosque where they glorify Yahya Sinwar, the supreme leader Khomeini that we just saw in other Hezbollah martyrs. So I want to show you what these people are saying about Khomeini, okay? And then here's the part that like always gets me, okay? So this is a part that always blows my mind. I'm Iranian, and these like Islamic clerics have overtaken my country of Iran, right? And we already know that many of them are not even Iranian, right? Like Khomeini, his father was from like Pakistan or somewhere. Um, and they say that they make up the story about who his father was, but we all know his father was like from like India or Pakistan or somewhere there, right? And what we always say that Iran is currently under occupation, right? It's like an Islamic occupation. When the Islamists took over Iran in 1979, not only did they change the name of the country from Iran to the Islamic Republic of Iran, they also changed our flag. So this is the real flag of Iran prior to 1979. When they took over, they actually replaced our flag with Arabic. We're Iranian. We speak Persian. We don't speak Arabic. Okay, so they changed our flag to like Arabic writing, and it says like Allahu Akbar. Again, another sign of Islamic colonization and jihad. But what's even more frustrating for me as an Iranian is that the Islamic Republic is murdering us every day. I mean, just yesterday, news came out that they murdered another innocent Iranian man, a 25-year-old Iranian man named Omid Sarlak. And Omid Sarlak is a 25-year-old Iranian man. He was fighting for freedom, and the Islamic Republic brutally murdered him. Okay? So while the Islamic Republic is literally murdering Iranians every single day, you have these like non-Iranian jihadi terrorists, right? This guy's not Iranian. He looks Pakistani to me, right? And even his name, like Haydar Jafar, like that's definitely like a Pakistani name, right? Like so he's not Arab. So he's not an Arab guy. Like this guy's probably Pakistani or Bangladeshi, or something like that. And so not even Iranian. He's not even Iranian, and yet he is literally in Canada in this mosque in Windsor, and he is honoring and glorifying these Islamic terrorists, right? So let's just play this video so you guys can get a sense of who these disgusting, filthy Islamic terrorists in Canada are, who are openly glorifying the people who are murdering Iranians like me every single day. Just listen to this.
I was just looking at a clip from Ayatollah Khomeini, rahmatullahi alayhi, about 45 years ago.
Sorry, I just have to say this. Hindit or Pakistanis or wherever the hell you're from.
Where he's talking about the fact that Israel will never rest until such time that they have captured. They will keep on moving inch by inch everywhere and making excuses that they are not to blame. So they have started with a small part, 1947.
All of this is propaganda, by the way. All of this is like jihadi propaganda. So he is literally a mouthpiece for the Islamic regime that is occupying Iran, right? Let me just pull up here. Oh, thank you, Mr. K. I appreciate that. Oh, thanks from Israel. Oh, thank you. I always like to say hello to my Jewish and Israeli followers. I'm Yisrael Chai. We love you guys. This is 100% a pro-Israel, pro-Zionist channel. So I always like hearing from Israeli fans and supporters. All right, let's go back to this like Pakistani jihadi man who is in Canada and he is openly glorifying a brutal war criminal, right? That murders me, right? So this man is literally my enemy. This man supports the people who want me dead. Okay, keep that in mind. He's in Canada. He's in Canada. He supports the people who murder me and my family. And he's, you know, just talking like the same Islamofascist jihadi nonsense. And he's doing it in a mosque, right? He's doing it in a Canadian mosque. So this is 100% a big problem in Canada. And this is one of the reasons why you're seeing this huge rise of not just anti-Semitism, but this huge rise in support for Islamic terrorism. He's glorifying these Islamic terrorists. And again, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, right? That was created by the Ayatollah Khomeini, Khaksari. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is also a listed terror entity. So this man is openly glorifying and honoring Islamic terrorists in Canada.
Today they have occupied everything. They are moving in. Now they have already moved beyond the buffer zone into Syria and captured a part of that part. And the plan is to move, he talks about it, that they will plan and they will not rest until they move all the way into Syria and then all the way into Iraq. Their plan is also to get into Mecca and Medina up there. And this is...
That's like this. Okay, so first of all, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard here, right? This guy is just pushing this weird jihadi propaganda, right? Like the greater Israel nonsense. And it's not even him, right? So he's basically pushing Islamic regime propaganda, right? Because he's saying all of these things that he's repeating right now is something that evil, disgusting pedophile cleric Khomeini was saying back in the late 1970s, early 1980s, right? So we are seeing Islamic terrorism being pushed out in Canadian mosques, right? Again, the Islamic Republic is a listed terrorist entity in Canada, something that we Iranians actually worked very hard to get. Like we worked 7 years. We lobbied the Canadian government 7 years until they finally listed the Islamic regime as a terrorist entity in Canada, right? And yet we have mosques in Canada that are openly glorifying the people who murder me and my people. So while Iranians in Iran are literally yelling death to Khamenei, death to the Islamic Republic, right? Because Iranians in Iran want to overthrow the Islamic regime. Like we want to get rid of that backwards 7th century Islamic hellhole, right? We don't want those pedophiles ruling the country. We don't want those jihadists ruling the country. We've constantly said we want peace with Israel. We want peace with the United States. We want peace with the world. While Iranians are fighting and literally being murdered by the Islamic Republic for wanting freedom, you have these non-Iranian, I don't know what the guy is like, Pakistani or something, these non-Iranian terrorists in Canada who are openly supporting the Islamic Republic and who are promoting their jihadi ideology, right? So now let's go back to this article. So this was not a one-off incident. The mosque has previously hosted events glorifying the late Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, the supreme leader Ali Khomeini, and other Hezbollah martyrs, right? Again, all of these are listed terror groups in Canada. Images from the latest gathering show many youth dressed in black. In one video, a speaker hailed Nasrallah as a martyr, proclaiming that the new generation of Canadian Muslims is no longer afraid to say openly that he was their leader, voice, and hero. So let's look at what this jihadi man has to say here. So he says, Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah's commemoration and martyrdom ceremony in Windsor was a full house, and many reaffirmed their allegiance to the goals of Nasrallah to keep standing against injustice until divine victory and total liberation. Palestine is almost free. Again, I don't know what Palestine is. I don't know where Palestine is located. When someone says free Palestine, to me, it sounds like someone is saying free Narnia. To me, Narnia is a more real country than Palestine. But there you have it. There you have it. This free Palestine nonsense again. So if we actually now look at this post, right? And yes, I do have this account. I blocked this account because this account, this man is notorious for death threats. He is like a violent, dangerous person. And he's like so weird. He's not even Iranian, right? Like the guy's not even Iranian, and yet he supports like Khomeini and Khamenei, right? So here we go. Like just look at this. Look at that. Do you see that? Like these people are in a mosque and they're literally like openly like glorifying these Islamic terrorists, right? Guys, like look at that. Look at like Nasrallah's picture. By the way, we have in Farsi we call Nasrallah Khairsallah because we compare him to a bear. But like look at this. I mean, guys, this is not normal. Like this is like this is something that you would see in like I don't know, occupied Iran. Like the Islamic terrorists behave this way, right? The fact that this mosque in Canada is openly holding vigils for this martyr, guys, this is a serious problem, right? Like this is not normal behavior. This is not at all normal behavior. All right, let's continue. Of course. In a separate clip, let's see what the separate clip is. All right, here we go. I found the clip. So let me read it for you first. In a separate clip, a young woman wearing a red headband, which is a Shiite symbol of martyrdom, and standing in front of a podium emblazoned with Nasrallah's image, is seen reciting a poem proclaiming, "Though you are gone, we rise anew, each soul a soldier shaped for you." The pro-terror spectacle in Windsor reflects a growing national crisis. I 100% agree. Across Canada, Islamist narratives are finding traction among youth through community networks, activist movements, university campuses, and online echo chambers. The warning signs are already flashing. Guys, I have been trying to warn you about Islamic terrorism for a very long time. One of the things that I did as part, when I was an elected member in Ontario, so I was a politician for 7 years. And when I was sounding the alarm on Islamic terrorism, the National Council of Canadian Muslims, which has ties to CARE America, and CARE has ties to the Muslim Brotherhood, National Council of Canadian Muslims, and other Muslim organizations that are tied to the Muslim Brotherhood and Islamic terrorists accused me of Islamophobia just because I was raising awareness about this. So Islamophobia is a fake, made up word, but let's watch this jihadi girl. So like this right here, this is exactly the kind of stuff that I was raising awareness about And the Islamic terrorists did not like it. So they thought that they could silence my voice by accusing me of Islamophobia. But the only thing that they actually did, guys, the only thing that they were successful in doing is giving me an opportunity to speak about this even more. Because when I was a politician, you know, I just spent a little bit of my time speaking about Islamic terrorism and raising awareness. Now that I'm no longer a politician, this is what I do full time. And guys, I'm really enjoying it and I'm just getting started. So if you guys want to learn more, not just about Islamic terrorism, but if you want to learn more about me and my story, make sure that you subscribe to my channel on YouTube because I go in depth every day on Islamic terrorism. So now let's watch this jihadi girl who is honoring Hassan Nasrallah. Again, Nasrallah is an Islamic terrorist, and all of these people, including that imam, right? Like we need to find out. We need to find out who that imam is, right? Um, all these people are glorifying Islamic terrorists, and again, we Iranians we hate Hezbollah because Hezbollah murders us, right? We hate Hezbollah. So these people who are not even Iranian are glorifying Hezbollah and the Islamic Republic. These people are literally these people support the murder of Iranians, right? Like these people support the murder of my friends and family in occupied Iran.
The mountains held their breath that day, cloaked in mist like widows in gray. As news broke loose upon the wind, Sayyid Hassan is gone and time grew thin. The cedars bowed their ageless heads, mourning.
Do you see the title? Beautiful deep poem for Hassan Nasrallah 1 year martyrdom anniversary. Like, do you see? Do you see what these people are doing? Like, how are these people in Canada? Every single person who attended this mosque, right? First of all, the mosque should be shut down completely, right? Like shut down, like burn it to the ground, right? Like this mosque is not a mosque. It is a den for terrorism, right? This is a den for jihad and radicalism terrorism. This mosque should be shut down, should be just like burned to the ground, like scorched earth, right? That's the first thing. And then second of all, every single person who attended this mosque for this event or who donates or whatever, like they should be deported, like kick them out of Canada, right? If they're a citizen, like get rid of their citizenship, send them to you know whatever Islamic hellhole it is they want to go to, or to practice this Islamic jihadi terrorism stuff. But we should not be seeing this in Canada, right? Like these people are dangerous to Western civilization. These people are not here to assimilate into Canadian society. They are here to take over, right? They are literally glorifying Islamic terrorists in Canada. Gosh, this is like, oh my gosh.
The dead. Even the rivers turned away, ashamed to sparkle in such dismay. His voice once rolled like thunder, steady, proud and burning strong. Now silence nests where eagles cried and valleys echo where he died.
These people are deranged. That's all I have to say. Like these people, like this is they're deranged. They're sick. They're mental. They do not belong in Canada. Like they are glorifying a jihadi war criminal. By the way, Nasrallah was one of the biggest drug dealers in the Middle East, right? Like Hezbollah had a huge drug dealing operation when it came to Captagon, right? Like just look up Captagon, right? So they're like glorifying drug dealers and pimps, right? Just a sick mentality, sick people, sick ideology.
Even the olive trees dropped bitter fruit. Their roots disturbed, their silence mute. The winds would hush to hear his prayer. The earth itself would stop and stare. The soil remembered every tread of Sayyid Hassan's footsteps, now gone, now dead.
What? I'm glad he's dead.
The sun itself refused to rise.
Just want to say I'm glad he's dead. Many of us celebrated when he died, and we're very thankful to Israel for getting rid of that cockroach and exterminating him like the terrorist that he was. Israel did the world a favor by getting rid of Hassan Nasrallah.
Ashamed to shine on grieving eyes. The stars once proud in southern skies flickered like prayers, like last goodbyes. The earth will hold him grave and deep, where seeds of struggle dare to sleep. And though he has turned to dust, his name will bloom, his path we trust. They said the lion cannot die, that thunder does not leave the sky. But now the mountain does not speak, and every faithful heart.
It's also typical of these Islamists and jihadis to use like revisionist imagery, revisionist, symbolism. So the lion actually symbolizes Iran. The lion is also a very strong, significant symbol in Judaism and Israel as well. These people are more like hyenas, not lions, and yet they will constantly like do this revisionism where they will try to steal the historical symbols and identities of other cultures and put it on themselves. So the fact that like they're referring to Nasrallah as a lion, it's laughable. He was not a lion, he was a cockroach, right? Like, and I say this as someone who actually has significant lion imagery in Iranian culture and heritage and history. And the lion imagery has absolutely nothing to do with Islam or jihad. But again, that's what these jihadis do. They will take symbols and they will try and, claim it for their own. So no, Nasrallah was not a lion, he was a cockroach.
Heart feels weak. The turbaned voice that shook the ground, that made the tyrants turn around, is silent now. O Sayyid, how could you depart and tear the soul from our brave heart? You were the shield when nights were long. You were the calm, you were the strong. The streets are full with sorrow. We stand, a trembling flag in every hand. Your name still rings in whispered cries as mothers stare with hollow eyes. Who speaks now for the orphaned pain? Who holds the line in fire and rain?
This is so cringe. This is so cringeworthy. It is cringe, but it's also very concerning. Like, look at all of these people that are there to honor Nasrallah. Like, these people are all terrorist supporters, guys. Like, they're in a mosque and they're there to support terrorism, right? Like, I think this is a shit. Like, it sounds like she's reading like a very stupid like AI generated poem, right? Like this, it's just like weird AI generated slop.
Who lives?
But I mean, guys, look, like she's wearing a red headband, right? So that's like the headband of martyrs, right? So one thing that Islamic terrorists like to do is they like to indoctrinate children, and they indoctrinate them and talk to them about the glory of martyrdom, right? And so that's why you see a lot of child soldiers in Hamas. In the 1980s, during the Iran-Iraq War, there were a lot of child soldiers because the Islamic Republic would indoctrinate Iranian youth and put red headbands on them. Guys, let me pull this up for you. So, I mean, not only are these people honoring Islamic terrorists, but they're also like they're promoting child soldiers, right? Like, look at this. Let me pull this up. Let me pull this up in a new tab here. Look at this. So this is a photo of Iranian children from the 1980s. Okay, so this is during the Iran-Iraq War. Okay, where they would the Islamic Republic, right? So the terrorists, they would indoctrinate Iranian youth, right? And they would put these red headbands around their heads, and then they would send them off into the minefields, right? So basically, the purpose of these children was to set off the landmines that the Iraqi army had planted in the ground therefore becoming child martyrs. And then that would pave the way for the Islamic Republic Army to then go in and fight against the Iraqis. So this red headband, right, is it's a symbol of martyrdom. And I personally find it incredibly sickening that there are people who are indoctrinating children. Okay, they're literally indoctrinating children to die for the cause of jihad. That's what the red headband means. So I'm not making it up. Like, it's not coming out of nowhere when I'm saying that that red headband that the girl is wearing, it's not just a sign of jihad. It's also a sign of child abuse and indoctrination, because no normal or rational parent will want to indoctrinate their child into dying for the cause of Allah, right? That ideology has been going on for a long time. So when me as an Iranian, or when other Iranians, when we're calling out these signs of radical terrorism, when we're pointing it out to and we're saying, guys, this is not normal, this is jihad, we come from a place of experience. We come from a place of knowledge. We come from a place of, we as Iranians have been fighting these Islamic terrorists for 47 years. They have taken over our country and they have imposed their Islamofascist jihadi ideology on us, right? Again, this image is from the 1980s, right? 1980s, during the Iran-Iraq War. And so you're seeing that same image in Canada in 2025, where this young woman, I'm assuming she's in her teens, right? She has a red headband around her head because she too has been indoctrinated in this Islamic jihadi cult, where she is willing to die for jihad, right? So this is very dangerous, guys. Like, do not take this threat lightly. This is what jihad looks like. This is what a cult looks like. Like, this is a cult of death, guys. This is a cult of death and martyrdom. They are glorifying death. They are glorifying child soldiers, right? Again, child soldiers. The red headband signifies martyrdom, and they're encouraging children to wage in this jihad. And this is happening in Canada. So this is something that needs to be taken very seriously, especially by people who are not from the Middle East and don't necessarily understand the context, right? Because for people who are not from the Middle East, you might just look at it and think, oh, it's just a red headband. The red headband doesn't actually mean anything, right? The red headband doesn't it doesn't mean jihad. Like Goldie's just overreacting. No. The red headband, oops, I'll show you exactly what the red headband means. This is what the red headband means, right? The red headband means child soldiers, right? And people who understand the history, people who know where to go to search for these things, right? And don't take it from me. Look up child soldiers in the, child soldiers in Iran, 1980s Iraq War. You'll find it there. So child soldiers in Iran in the 1980s, and now you have child soldiers in Canada in 2025. All right, let's continue and hear the rest of this ChatGPT poem that this indoctrinated child soldier in Canada is reading.
Lifts the flag when hope runs dry and dares to live or dares to die. They tried to break you year by year, but you stood firm. You had no fear, and now we break, for you are gone, and morning feels like endless dawn. The stars themselves seem dull and gray. We all walk your path every day, we pray. His turban rests, his eyes are closed, and yet the fire he lit still glows. We carry now what he once bore, the oath, the cause, the unseen war. But still we cry, how could we not? His absence burns, it won't be forgot. He spoke and mountains learned to rise. He stood and hope lit wounded skies. With turban black and gaze so deep, he woke the lions from their sleep. The voice of truth in darkened lands, a sword of faith.
Guys, I don't think I can listen to this full thing. Like, how long does this poem go? Like, how long does this jihadi poem go?
And your name lives on.
Yeah.
We still believe we are the ones he fortified. Never, ever will we lives the fall.
Okay, so I guess this is the part where now she gets into the whole like jihadi thing and like, we're gonna continue to fight, right? Like, we're gonna continue the jihad with her red headband. Again, red headband, martyrdom, right? Soldiers of jihad right here.
For every step the Sayyid made, we march behind unafraid. Lebanon, O land of pain, cried soft beneath September rain.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that actual Lebanese people will have a problem with this because I've explained previously, Lebanon is currently occupied. Southern Lebanon is occupied by Hezbollah. Hezbollah is funded by the Islamic Republic. Guys, Lebanon used to be a majority Christian country 50 years ago. 50 years ago, Lebanon was a majority Christian country, and then these Islamists and jihadis came in the late 1970s, early 80s, and funded by the Islamic Republic, because again, right, the Islamic Republic wants to turn the entire world into an Islamic caliphate. They started with Iran, they expanded into Lebanon, they've expanded into Iraq, they've expanded into Yemen, they've expanded into Israel as well, right, in the Gaza area. So for her to talk about Lebanon, I can only imagine how frustrating it must be for like Lebanese people to hear these like Islamists and jihadis talk about Lebanon, because Lebanon used to be majority Christian until these people came in and started slaughtering all of the Christians, aided by the Palestinians, by the way. The Palestinians also went in because the Palestinians are the mercenaries. I shouldn't call them Palestinians, more like Gazans, right? Like the Gazans are the mercenaries of the Middle East. So wherever there's a war, they will go and they'll fight. It's just what they do. So a lot of Gazans also went into Lebanon as well, joining Hezbollah, and basically ruined Lebanon. Now the Lebanese people are, fighting hard to reclaim their country from these people. So, when she talks about Lebanon, I mean, again, it's basically like they're referring to southern Lebanon, which is occupied by Hezbollah, not by the Lebanese government. He had a dress and he was wired. Horrendous smell came out of his beard. Are you talking about Nasrallah? Yeah, I mean, they all smell. They all smell pretty bad. All right, let's finish this like jihadi poem here from this indoctrinated child soldier. So you guys want to know what child soldiers look like in Islam? That's what they look like. The red headband, child soldier. Again.
His path is carved in blood and stone, but never, ever will we walk alone. We carry him in every breath. His name defies both time and death. So let the world let the world watch, terrified. We are the ones he fortified. His flame is ours, we guard the prize. He walked before and we still rise. Sayyid, if you see us from the sky, where martyrs live.
Honey, he's not seeing you from the sky. He's burning in like the 9th level of hell, honey. He's not in the sky. He's burning in the 9th level of hell right beside Hitler where he belongs.
Where heroes fly, know this, we still believe we'll never fall.
Oh my God. Guys, okay. I did say that I'm going to display starred messages. So, hello, John. Thank you for watching the stream. I hope you're enjoying this lesson about Islamic terrorism and radicalization in Canada. Thank you for your support. If you enjoy my channel, if you enjoy my live stream, make sure you like and subscribe and share.
We'll never leave. Now is your time to rest. Be still, you climb the highest hill. And though your voice is lost in sand, your name lives on through every land. هيهات من الذلة لبيك لبيك يا نصر الله
لبيك يا نصر الله
لبيك يا نصر الله.
So if you guys had any doubt that this was a vigil to honor an Islamic terrorist and war criminal, Hassan Nasrallah, there's no more doubt anymore, right? Like they're literally cheering him on in Arabic now. And again, this is happening at a mosque in Windsor, Canada. Okay, this is not happening in some random Middle Eastern country. By the way, this would not be allowed in the United Arab Emirates. Okay, this would not be allowed in Saudi Arabia. This would not be allowed in Egypt. This would not be allowed in several Middle Eastern countries because they all view Hezbollah as terrorists. And yet, you literally have mosques in Canada where these people have come to Canada. They have brought their terrorist jihadi ideology with them. They dress up their children to look like, child soldiers who are willing to lose their lives on the path of Allah or whatever nonsense they spout. And they're, chanting for Hassan Nasrallah in a Canadian mosque. Do you guys are you starting to see the problem here? Are you starting to see sort of the radicalization problem here, right? And again, Hezbollah is a listed terrorist entity in Canada. No one should be cheering them on. This is like the equivalent, guys. This is the equivalent of people holding a vigil for Hitler. Imagine if people in Canada gathered around to hold a vigil for Hitler. This is the exact same thing, except it's even worse because this is happening right now, right?
لبيك يا زينب.
لبيك يا زينب.
At your service, oh ya Nasrallah.
At your service.
Thank you very much.
Did you hear that? At your service. So they're basically saying we are here to continue the jihad. We are here to continue Islamic terrorism. We're at your service. Guys, they are not mincing words. They are not hiding who they are, what they support, and what they want. And Canadian politicians have imported these people into Canada, not just in Canada, but they also exist in the United States, they exist in the UK, they exist in European countries, they exist in Australia, New Zealand, right? Your politicians are literally mass importing Islamic terrorists into your countries. These people are not here to make peace. These people are here to wage war. And they're literally saying it. They're glorifying Islamic terrorists in their mosques openly, right? They're dressing up like child soldiers. Again, remember the red headband. The red headband. This is what the red headband symbolizes. These are child soldiers in occupied Iran in the 1980s during the Iran-Iraq War, where the Islamic terrorists would indoctrinate Iranian children, force them into the minefields, right? And the children would give up their lives in the cause of Allah or whatever jihadi nonsense, right? The red headband is not just a random costume. The red headband is a sign of Islamic radicalism and jihad. We've lived through it. We've experienced it. We know what we're talking about. So now let's go back to the article, guys. I'm not even done reading the article. So again, for those of you who just tuned in, I'm reading this article called "In Canada, Radicalization is Happening in Plain Sight." So I'm just started it. So you'll have to go back and read, catch the beginning part of it. But I want to continue on. John, have I heard about a Minnesota mayor wanting to rename a U.S. street for a dead Hezbollah? 100%. I have heard about that. I actually played the video, John, on my channel before. But since you brought it up, I will gladly find the video again and I will play it for you because it is absolutely horrifying. It's absolutely horrifying to me that there are people in the United States who literally want to rename streets after people who support Hezbollah, and then when white American Christians are calling it out, they're accused of Islamophobia. It's a big problem. It's a huge radicalization problem. Guys, watch this. Watch this. I've spoken about this in previous live streams, but John, since you brought it up, I'm happy to share this again, because this jihadi problem, it's happening all around. Guys, just watch this. Watch this.
I mean, Hezbollah, bombed the embassy in Beirut, and including many Americans. So I just feel it's quite inappropriate.
You are an Islamophobe, and although you live here, I want you to know, as mayor, you are not welcome here. And the day you move out of the city will be the day that I launch a parade celebrating the fact that you moved out of the city, because you are not somebody who believes in coexistence.
You know, to me, it is absolutely horrifying that that there are Muslims in the United States who are literally calling out white Christian Americans who built the country, and accusing them of Islamophobia just because they don't want streets in America named after people who support Hezbollah. That is where you guys are, right? I mean, I don't think any street in America should have any sort of name other than like an English sounding name, right? I mean, when you go to Middle Eastern countries, you don't see streets that are named after like American people, right? Not that I know of anyway. Why is it that multiculturalism and diversity only goes one way? But anyways, I've 100% heard about that, and it is horrifying. And I will actually be doing another episode on Islamic radicalization and focusing on the United States. So if you're enjoying this live stream, if you're enjoying this series, make sure that you like and subscribe to my channel. If you want to be more involved in the channel, then you're more than welcome to become a member as well. And then you get access to the members only message board, where we go in a little bit more detail about all of this stuff as well. But I will be doing an episode on Dearborn, Michigan for sure. So going back to the situation in Canada. So we just spoke about that radical jihadi mosque in Windsor, Ontario, that is openly glorifying and celebrating Islamic terrorism and Islamic terrorists in Canada. So the author continues to write, the pro-terror spectacle in Windsor reflects a growing national crisis. I 100% agree. Across Canada, Islamist narratives are finding traction among youth through community networks, activist movements, university campuses, and online echo chambers. The warning signs are already flashing. In a report published earlier this year, CSIS said that it is increasingly concerned. CSIS said it is increasingly concerned about the threat of ISIS-enabled or directed attacks. An ISIS-inspired minor was arrested in Montreal in August on terrorism-related charges. The RCMP recently reported a staggering 488% increase in terrorism-related charges between April 2023 and March of 2024, much of it driven by ISIS-motivated youth radicalization. Guys, so in the between 2023 and 2024, there was a 488% increase in Islamic radicalization and terrorism in Canada. Let's go and take a look at this report from CSIS, okay? Let's find this report from CSIS. Okay. So I have the report here, but I think I'm going to leave this for part 2, guys, because this is a pretty in-depth report. It's 46 pages. So I'm going to make a note here, and I'm going to leave this for part 2 of my stream. Okay, and then we're going to go through the CSIS report in depth, because there's a lot to break down here. But I just want to go back to the main article. So RCMP recently reported a staggering 488% increase in terrorism-related charges, much of it driven by ISIS-motivated youth radicalization. Okay, and here is the article. So ISIS arrests are spiking in Canada, and youth are driving the resurgence. Okay, gee, I wonder why. I wonder why ISIS arrests are spiking in Canada, and I wonder why a lot of them are young people. Could it have anything to do with the fact that they are literally radicalizing young people in mosques in Canada? You know, like that video we just saw where they had this like this teenage girl wearing a red headband and saying that we're the soldiers of Nasrallah, we're going to continue the resistance, we're going to continue the fight. Gee, I wonder why. I wonder why arrests are spiking. Could it have anything to do with the fact that these mosques are indoctrinating young Canadians? These mosques are glorifying Islamic terrorists. Again, people who are associated with listed terrorist entities in Canada. Let's read this article. So this article is from last year, okay? On June 15th, oh, you know what? Why don't we watch this video? Let's see if we can watch the video. No, the video's not working. All right. So on June 15, 2023, police searched the Calgary home and found an ISIS flag, 3 knives, bomb-making instructions, and ideological tracts on killing gay men. That's the other thing. All of these like woke lefties, you know, gays for Gaza, queers for Palestine, it's like the same thing as saying chickens for KFC or cows for Burger King, right? Like these people don't support you. These people would kill you. And yet they're out there saying like gays for Gaza. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And here you see, right? Like ideological tracts on killing gay men. I'm a member of ISIS. The owner of the materials, Zakaria Rida Hussein, had written on Snapchat as he planned an attack during the city's month-long Pride celebrations. Tomorrow my mission begins. It's Pride Month, right? Like, do you see how these people operate? Since then, Canadian police have disrupted ISIS-related plots in Ottawa and Toronto and arrested a man in Quebec who allegedly planned a mass shooting in New York. ISIS is back. 5 years after it was defeated in Syria, the ultra-violent terror group is on the rebound and poses what the Canadian government report calls a resurgent threat to the West. Do you see that? A resurgent threat to the West. A global news investigation has linked the so-called Islamic State to a surging number of investigations across Canada. 20 suspects have been arrested this year and last, compared with just 2 in 2022. Okay, so in 2022, okay, 2 people were arrested on suspected terrorist affiliations to Islamic terrorists in the Middle East. In 2023, the number went up to, what was it? 20 suspects, right? So in 2023, 20 people were arrested by the police because they had links to Islamic terrorists. That's a huge jump. 2 people in 2022, 20 people in 2023. During that same period, 4 more ISIS supporters were convicted in Canadian courts for crimes committed earlier. Fueling the ISIS revival are youths like Hussein. 20 years old when he was arrested, he is typical of the latest wave of would-be ISIS terrorists. According to police and experts, today's ISIS devotees are younger and more immersed in social media and gaming platforms where they are connecting with propaganda recruiters and fellow extremists. For Hussein, TikTok and Snapchat were the preferred applications, and he used text messaging to send threats to Premier Daniel Smith's United Conservative Party of Alberta, court documents show. I'm going to do a terrorist attack on you guys, he wrote to the UCP. I'll kill each and every one of you. I'll blow you guys up with explosives. He sounds like a very, I don't know what to say, not a very nice person, okay? The counterterrorism investigation that resulted in his conviction also led to the arrests of 3 Calgary minors. One was only 15. Guys, where do you think these minors are being radicalized? Meanwhile, police in Ottawa arrested a minor last December over a suspected bomb plot targeting Jews in the capital. His alleged accomplice was also a juvenile. In August, another Toronto youth was charged with ISIS-related terrorism offenses, and an 18-year-old from Morocco was arrested in Montreal in 2023. So, October 3, Anand Naf, Suleiman Raza, and Nakash Abbasi sentenced for 2021 killing a victim who was about to expose their ISIS fundraising. Guys, these people were fundraising for ISIS in Mississauga. So people, like, you have these Islamic terrorists in Canada who are literally fundraising for ISIS, and when they were about to be exposed, they murdered the person who was going to expose them. And these people are operating freely in Canada with no consequences whatsoever, right? In 2024, Mohammed Shahzeb Khan of Toronto arrested in Quebec for ISIS plot targeting Jews in Brooklyn, New York. And the problem's not just in Canada, guys. They're also planning terrorist attacks in other countries. Like, this guy was planning a terrorist attack in New York. And then in August 22, 2024, juvenile charged in Toronto with participating in terrorist group and counseling to commit a terrorism. Like, that's wild, guys. This is all happening in Canada. They're being radicalized right here in the country. The latest case involves a 20-year-old Pakistani foreign student living in Toronto accused of planning a mass shooting at a Brooklyn, New York Jewish center on the anniversary of the October 7 Hamas attack. The same is happening in Europe, where 3 teens were taken into custody over an ISIS-inspired scheme to bomb a Taylor Swift concert in Vienna. In Arizona, a 17-year-old ISIS supporter was arrested on October 8 for allegedly plotting a drone attack on the Phoenix Pride Parade. Not all are so young. In July, RCMP arrested a former Amazon employee from Egypt and his son for allegedly plotting an ISIS attack in Toronto. The father was 62. Are you guys starting to see a pattern here? Are you starting to see that maybe there's an issue with Islamic terrorism in the West, right? Maybe there's an issue with, jihad. And Major, welcome. Coming in late, they just broke up a terror plot in Dearborn. Pay attention, kids. Major, you are 100% correct. That is actually something I'm going to be discussing tomorrow. This is the first part in my series on, Islamic radicalization in the West. Today, I'm focusing on Canada, but 100% over the weekend, they just broke up a terror plot in Dearborn. Dearborn, that's the same place, guys, where I just showed the video based on John's request earlier. Remember, John asked me if I knew about the Muslim mayor who wanted to rename a U.S. street for dead Hezbollah leader. Yep, that was happening in Dearborn, and they have now, in fact, broken up an Islamic terrorist plot in Dearborn. Major, thank you for that. Yes, 100% true. So there is a radicalization problem in the West, not just in Canada, but I will be speaking about that tomorrow 100%. So you guys definitely want to make sure that you subscribe to my channel, like and share it, and help me get the word out. Because what we are seeing happening right now, guys, this isn't something that happened overnight. This is the product of years of these people infiltrating into the West, and no one has had the courage to speak out. And those who do speak out, people like me who do speak out, are accused by Islamist jihadi organizations of Islamophobia, right? Because they don't want people who are not from the Middle East to clue in to what's going on. They don't want you to know what they say behind closed doors in their mosques. They don't want you to know what they're saying in Arabic or other languages that they're speaking. And again, like this article that I'm sharing with you right now, this is from a year ago. right? This is from a year ago. All these examples that I provided is from a year ago, and yet it hasn't been taken seriously. Okay, so let me continue reading this. That same month, Kimberly Pullman, a 52-year-old BC Muslim convert, allegedly trained by ISIS in Syria, was charged with 2 terrorism offenses. So, guys, it's not just it's not even just people who are from the Middle East. It's also people in Canada who are being radicalized. Right? Some of them are converting to Islam, and then they're literally going to Syria and they're being trained by Islamic terrorists. Right? So the level of indoctrination, guys, you have to take it very seriously, because it's not by random that this random Canadian person named Kimberly Pullman it's not like they just wake up one day and decide, I'm going to convert to Islam and then I'm going to go to Syria and I'm going to train with Islamic terrorists. No one just wakes up and decides that. The reason it happens is because they're being indoctrinated, guys. It is happening under the radar and no one's taking it seriously. So, as far back as 2014, a 16-year-old was arrested in Montreal for robbing a corner store to finance his plan to join ISIS. But since the start of 2023, almost half the suspects arrested in Canada were under 21 and 6 were minors. We've certainly seen more prevalence of youth being radicalized or even mobilizing for violence. RCMP Assistant Commissioner Bridget Gavin, the head of National Security Investigations, said in an exclusive interview. And I would say again, it is a result of them being present on these online forums and encrypted platforms and just continuously consuming that propaganda. Court documents show Canadian ISIS youths have used TikTok, Snapchat, Discord, Reddit, and Facebook to communicate and consume extremist tracts. Telegram, as well as gaming platforms Minecraft and Roblox, are also where people will approach young people and try to entrench them in their ideology. We could even say that algorithms have a role to play, because once a person goes on a certain site or researches a certain topic, algorithms will often feed into what they view on a daily basis. And it's that increased consumption of propaganda sometimes that will lead to a person becoming radicalized. Researchers who track ISIS are also reporting the involvement of youth at earlier ages, likely because they are on social media and messaging platforms sooner than in the past. It's definitely something I've noticed, said Aaron Zellin, a senior research fellow at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy. It's plausible that it's because the Islamic State is using TikTok, maybe not in an official capacity, but definitely putting their content out there, and the algorithm allows it to spread. So, what is ISIS, guys? Formed in 2014 by former members of Al-Qaeda, ISIS came into prominence after capturing a large swath of Syria and Iraq, and then collapsed in battle against Kurdish fighters and a US-led international coalition. The last territory under ISIS control in Syria was liberated in 2019. But ISIS did not disappear. It just shifted to other parts of the world and to the internet. Okay. So now going back to this article that I'm sharing with you. Again, this article, the main one, was written today. Okay. So it was published November 3. And it says, in Canada, radicalization is happening in plain sight. So I've gone over this mosque. I've gone over the fact that they literally have children dressed as child soldiers. Again, don't forget the red headband. These are child soldiers in Iran, occupied Iran in the 1980s, right? The red headband signifies martyrdom. So you have child soldiers in Canadian mosques who are openly glorifying Hassan Nasrallah. Hassan Nasrallah was the leader of Hezbollah, which is an Islamic terrorist group. Okay. So let's go back here. So now that I've shared with you some other background info on the rise of Islamic terrorism and radicalization in Canada, this report from the RCMP makes a lot more sense. The RCMP recently reported a staggering 488% increase in terrorism-related charges between April 2023 and March 2024, much of it driven by ISIS-motivated youth radicalization. In the year following the October 7, 2023 terrorist attack in Israel, anti-Semitic incidents in Canada rose by 670%. Guys, since October 7, again, October 7, 2023 is the worst genocidal massacre by Hamas or by any group against Israeli people and Jews since the Holocaust. Since October 7, 2023, anti-Semitic attacks rose in Canada by 670%. Okay? That should tell you something. So the worst massacre of Jewish people happens since October 7. And in Canada, instead of people rallying together, instead of, different communities coming together to call for, peace or to, I don't know, just like to basically say, we don't support Islamic terrorism, we want peace, we don't want war. Instead of doing that, okay, the communities that support October 7 went out and they actually started attacking Jewish people in Canada. Jewish people in Canada have nothing to do with October 7. And to me, I personally find it horrifying. And we all saw the videos, we all saw the images. As soon as October 7 happened, you had jihadis in Canada going out and celebrating well before Israel retaliated, right? Again, the first 3 or 4 days, Israel did not retaliate. The first 3 or 4 days, people were still in shock and they were in horrified by what the Islamic terrorists had done, horrified by what Hamas had done. All the images and videos and footage coming out. And by the way, it wasn't just Hamas who engaged in October 7. It was also Palestinian civilians, right? It was also the civilians who went in and they were murdering innocent people and they were taking Jewish people hostage, which is why I have zero sympathy for Palestinian civilians, because they're all, to me, they're all one and the same. To me, there's no difference between Hamas and Palestinians at this point. If someone can show me, proof otherwise, I'm happy to see it. But for me, I was horrified when I saw images of Palestinians cheering October 7, right? I will never forget the video of Shani Luke's corpse in a pickup truck being driven through the streets of Gaza, and Palestinian civilians were spitting on her body. They weren't Hamas. They were Palestinian civilians, and they were spitting on the body of a dead Jewish woman, happy that Hamas had murdered her. Were they terrorists? Were they Hamas? No, they were Palestinian civilians who were spitting on her corpse. So I have zero sympathy for Gaza or the fake Palestinian cause. Zero sympathy for them. But not only that, one could try and make an argument to distinguish between what was happening in Gaza versus Canada, right? And Gazans in Canada had an opportunity to show their humanity. They had an opportunity to, get together with the Jewish community and say, you know what happened is horrifying. We don't support that. Even if you have political differences, right? Even if there's a political difference, even if you believe that, what Israel is, if you have an issue with the two-state, with the land dispute or whatever. First of all, I think the whole thing belongs to Israel. But even if you have a political difference, there is a civilized way of resolving these issues. And the so-called Palestinians in Canada had an opportunity to come together with the Jewish community and say, you know what, let's put our political differences aside. What happened is horrific. We don't support that. We do have differences in opinion and that needs to be resolved, but it shouldn't be done through terrorism. No, what the so-called Palestinians in Canada did is they went out on October 7 and they celebrated. They celebrated the genocidal massacre of over 1,200 innocent people in Israel, and they called for more. They wanted more, right? And not only that, they began a massive and aggressive campaign of anti-Semitism and violence against the Canadian Jewish community, even though the Canadian Jewish community had absolutely nothing to do with what's going on in Israel. And I have never seen any other group of people act so savagely or so barbarically than the so-called Palestinians. Russia and Ukraine are currently going through a bitter war. We don't see Russians in Canada going into Ukrainian communities and terrorizing Ukrainians. We don't see Ukrainians in Canada going to Russian communities and terrorizing Russians. We don't see that. Why? Because when people come to Canada, they put that baggage aside. And even if you have political differences, right, you deal with it in a civilized manner. And yet, the so-called Palestinians were out there cheering and celebrating the rape and murder of over 1,200 innocent Israelis, right? And even the police report is now admitting, after October 7, right, in 1 year, in the 1 year following October 7, 2023, the terrorist attack in Israel, anti-Semitic incidents in Canada rose by 670%. Right? And it says, these are not just random developments. They reflect a cultural shift in a post-October 7 world where extremism is reframed as justice and terrorism is rebranded as resistance. The only criticism I have here is that this journalist is not calling it out for what it is. It's not just regular old normal extremism. It's Islamic extremism, right? Islamic extremism is reframed as justice, and Islamic terrorism is rebranded as resistance. Today, okay, well, at least, you know what? I'll give him credit. At least he calls it out here. He calls it out here for what it is. Today, Islamist radicalization is manifestly unfolding in classrooms, in mosques, and community centers, often cloaked in the language of progressive activism and shielded by Canada's own freedoms. 100%, guys, this is what I have been calling out for the last several years. This is why these Islamist organizations accuse me of Islamophobia and try to silence my voice. This is the main reason that I've started this YouTube channel, is to call this out and to continue calling this out, right? Let me read this again, guys. This is critical. These are not just, so this 670% rise in anti-Semitism in Canada is not a random development. It reflects a cultural shift in a post-October 7 world where extremism is reframed as justice and terrorism rebranded as resistance. Today, Islamist radicalization is manifestly unfolding in classrooms, in mosques, and community centers, often cloaked in the language of progressive activism and shielded by Canada's own freedoms, right? Because they will go out there, they will push their jihadi Islamist agenda, and then they will say, oh, we have freedom of association, we have freedom of religion, freedom of expression, all that nonsense, right? That nonsense argument they use because they are pushing the limits of tolerance, right? Islamist networks have learned, okay, good. Wow, okay, so I'm glad that we're getting to this part here because this is what I have been saying for quite a while, and I'm happy that this journalist is now actually calling it out for what it is. Islamist networks have learned to exploit the country's Charter of Rights and Freedoms to spread radical narratives while avoiding scrutiny. 100% I agree with this. It's a strategy reminiscent of the Muslim Brotherhood's long-term civilizational jihad strategy, the gradual infiltration and sabotage of Western institutions to normalize extremist ideology under the guise of rights and advocacy. 100%. Guys, I have previously spoken about the Muslim Brotherhood's civilizational jihad strategy. And in fact, I actually have a video prepared for you by Brigitte Gabriel because she has spoken about the Muslim Brotherhood's civilizational strategy quite a bit. And let me share that with you guys. So we're going to play this clip from Brigitte Gabriel where she literally talks about the Muslim Brotherhood's civilizational strategy. Brigitte Gabriel, by the way, she's a Lebanese woman, Lebanese Christian, and she had to escape Lebanon because of the Islamic terrorists that have taken over her country, right? Hezbollah. Remember, we were watching the video of that, of those Islamic terrorists in that Canadian mosque who were glorifying Hassan Nasrallah. Those are the people who ruined Lebanon and ruined life for many Christian Lebanese people like Brigitte Gabriel. So let's watch this clip by Brigitte Gabriel because she actually talks about the Muslim Brotherhood's civilizational jihad.
Hello, everybody. I'm Brigitte Gabriel. I am holding in my hand the Muslim Brotherhood Plan for North America, written in 5/22/1991. This is their plan, titled مذكرة تفسيرية للهدف الاستراتيجي العام في أمريكا الشمالية. This is about their explanation on how they're going to take over the West, their 100-year plan to infiltrate and dominate the West and establish an Islamic government on earth. This plan was presented as evidence in the Holy Land Foundation trial, the largest terrorism trial ever in the history of the United States, where our government handed down 108 guilty verdicts to Muslim Americans and Muslim organizations in America, raising money in the United States and sending it overseas to support terrorist activity overseas.
So guys, that's really important, okay? So this is not like a conspiracy theory. She is reading a document that the FBI provided as evidence in a court case, okay? So this is real, this is confirmed. This is the information that many of these Islamist organizations don't want you to know about. They don't want you to know that there is a 100-year plan to infiltrate Western societies and slowly take over. And it's not something that happens overnight. It's something that takes several decades, right? And if you have watched my previous videos about Iran and the Islamic Revolution, I have explained that even the Islamic Revolution of 1979 in Iran, it did not happen overnight. It actually took 40 years, okay? It's something that sort of started in 1941, and it was only successful in 1979. So again, it was not an overnight thing. So these Islamic caliphates, right? Usually it takes 1 or 2 generations to get there. And where we are right now in North America, I would say we're close to the first generation. The first generation has been indoctrinated. We're close to the second. So again, pay attention because this is not a conspiracy theory. This is information that was used by the FBI as documentation and evidence in court. All right, let's get into it.
And I'm going to read you a paragraph about their intention in the United States and how they describe their work. Number 4 of the paragraph is titled Understanding the Role of the Muslim Brother in North America. And it says, the process of settlement is a civilization jihadist process with all the word means. The Ikhwan, which is the Arabic word for brothers, must understand that their work in America is a kind of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within and sabotaging its miserable house by their hands and the hands of the believers so that it is eliminated and Allah's religion is made victorious over all other religion. As you can see, they don't mince words. They don't beat around the bush. They tell you exactly what they want to do. They go in detail in this booklet talking about how they are going to implement their plan and the organizations that they had set up in the United States in order for them to advance their plan in America. And here are the names of some of the organizations. They give the names of 29 organizations set up in America to do that. So I'm going to read you some of the names. ISNA, the Islamic Society of North America. If the name sounds familiar, it's because ISNA used to be advisors to President Obama about Middle East policy. So now you understand where signing the nuclear deal with Iran came from and why Obama was all over himself trying to appeal to the Iranian regime, even sending them pallets of cash in the middle of the night on an airplane, landing in an airport in the middle of the night, millions and billions of our tax dollars. Number 2 on the list is the MSA, the Muslim Student Association. The Muslim Student Association has chapters all over American universities. So today when you are watching all these demonstrators on our American universities screaming death to the Jews, we hate the Jews, from the river to the sea, Gaza will be free or Palestine will be free, now you understand where that is coming from. Number 8 on the list is the North American Islamic Trust. The North American Islamic Trust owns 90% of mosques in the United States. Number 22 on the list is IAP, Islamic Association for Palestine, which later became CAIR, the Council on American Islamic.
Did you guys catch that? So the Islamic Association for Palestine later became CAIR. Let's go back, pay attention to that again, because that's critical. Again, all these terrorist groups are connected, and it all goes back to the fake Palestinian cause and their fake jihad, right? They're not their fake jihad, their fake Palestinian cause, which is promoting their jihad in the West, right?
Later became CAIR, the Council on American Islamic Relations. Now, when you read all this stuff, you think to yourself, how can this happen? Does our government know about this stuff? I have been talking about these things for over 15 years. This is detailed in my book, They Must Be Stopped, which came out in 2008, detailing this plan. When I used to talk about these things, I was accused of being an Islamophobe. People called me a hater. Nobody wanted to listen. When I was warning about the Muslim student associations on college campuses and the...
Did you guys? So this is like this is typical for all of us. Any one of us who speaks out about like Islamic terrorism, we all get the same accusation, right? So this should start sending a signal for you guys. This should start letting you guys know there's a pattern here, right? It doesn't matter who we are or where we are from the Middle East. If we're speaking out against Islamic terrorism, if we're trying to warn people about the real and legitimate threat, people accuse us and try to silence us, right?
They must be...
I mean, like Bridget is from Lebanon, I'm from Iran, and yet it's the same attacks, right? It's the same narrative, because they don't want people who are not from the Middle East to know the truth about Islamic terrorism.
Stopped, which came out in 2008, detailing this plan. When I used to talk about these things, I was accused of being an Islamophobe. People called me a hater. Nobody wanted to listen. When I was warning about the Muslim student associations on college campuses and the money coming from the Middle East funding a social study department, a political science department, and appointing professors who are anti-America and anti-Israel to teach that Israel is evil, America is bad, and the Islamic world is the underdog, and the Palestinians are the oppressed, nobody wanted to listen. Nobody wanted to pay attention. So today when you see all these people organized on the streets in the United States, hating Israel, hating the Jewish people, hating America, tearing down American flags and the pro-Palestinian demonstrations in New York City, now you understand where that is coming from. If you want more details about this plan, you can read it through my book, They Must Be Stopped, which is available on Amazon, as well as for a donation for Act for America, tax-deductible donation. We will mail you the book so you can understand what we are dealing with. Thank you for your time.
So there you have it. Bridget perfectly encapsulates what's happening in Western societies. It is civilizational jihad, right? So when we go back to this article now, where this article, again, published today, so this is about Canada specifically. Islamist networks have learned to exploit the country's Charter of Rights and Freedoms to spread radical narratives while avoiding scrutiny. It's a strategy reminiscent of the Muslim Brotherhood's long-term civilizational jihad strategy, the gradual infiltration and sabotage of Western institutions to normalize extremist ideology under the guise of rights and advocacy. As former FBI agent and terrorism expert Laura Burns noted, Hamas, the one-time Palestinian arm of the Muslim Brotherhood, has spent 2 decades infiltrating North American campuses and media to recruit sympathy for its cause and reshape public discourse. In Canada, those same tactics are being employed with startling boldness and with minimal resistance. Let me repeat that, guys. In Canada, those same tactics are being employed with startling boldness and with minimal resistance. Again, because those of us who raise awareness about what's going on, we are accused of Islamophobia, and that's used to try and silence our voices. Again, I was a politician for 7 years. But when I was raising awareness about this, I was accused of Islamophobia. But all it did is it just made me speak louder. And here I am. Now I get to speak about this 24/7. So if anything, those jihadis actually did me a favor, because now I don't have to focus on my day-to-day, politics anymore. I can just focus on raising awareness about jihad and radical terrorism in Canada and the rise of anti-Semitism. So, I mean, thank you to my haters, because you have allowed me to actually get an even bigger voice. And now it's not even just me, it's all of these newspaper articles who are now calling this out and raising awareness about this. So, guys, I was early, but I was not wrong. Let's see here. Last year, Quebec Premier François Legault warned that teachers were introducing Islamist religious concepts into public schools in direct violation of the province's secularism laws. His remarks followed reports of religious indoctrination in at least 17 schools. So do you see how they're slowly trying to infiltrate? They're trying to infiltrate and corrupt the minds of the youth. And in Quebec, secularism is very important. Separation of church and state is very, very important in Quebec. And so they don't take these things lightly at all. The push to institutionalize anti-Palestinian racism, right? Again, Palestine isn't a thing. Anti-Palestinian racism is just another attempt to promote jihadi Islamofascist ideology in Canada by trying to make it so that you cannot go against their jihadi nonsense, right? Like those of us from the Middle East, we all know Palestine is fake. It doesn't exist. Like the real two-state solution is Israel and Jordan, right? That's why Israel and Jordan were carved out of what was called British Mandate Palestine at the time. And yet this anti-Palestinian racism narrative nonsense is basically a Trojan horse to try and deny the fact that Jewish people are indigenous to Israel, right? Whereas me as an Iranian, my history with the history of Iranians and Israelis goes back 3,000 years to the time of Cyrus the Great, right? So I have shared history as someone who is indigenous to the Middle East. I have a shared history with the indigenous people of Israel going back 3,000 years, well before Islam was even invented. And yet this notion of anti-Palestinian racism, quote unquote, is a Trojan horse meant to deny the real and legitimate claim that Jewish people have to the land of Israel. Again, like the fake Palestinian movement was something that was created in the 1960s by Yasser Arafat. It didn't exist prior to that. So the push to institutionalize anti-Palestinian racism framework in schools adds another layer of concern. Framed as an anti-discrimination measure, APR in practice operates as an ideological weapon 100%. It's an ideological weapon branding any criticism of Palestinian militancy as racism and shielding extremist groups from legitimate scrutiny 100%, right? Like these are the same jihadis who claim that rape is resistance, right? The reason like they frame their jihad in sort of like Western narratives and language because they want to justify genociding the Jewish people. They want to justify eradicating the state of Israel, and so they use this reverse psychology narrative by, you know, putting in these concepts that it's a joke, right? Like anti-Palestinian racism, it's not even something that exists in Middle Eastern discourse or politics or anything like that. But that's how they're trying to infiltrate and fool people who are not from the Middle East, right? And these, by the way, like these narratives and ideologies are being pushed by these Islamist groups in Canada, like the National Council of Canadian Muslims and the Muslim Advisory Council, like all these groups that are, you know, have these very dubious connections and links, right? And by the way, whenever someone tries to look into where they get their funding from, they all of a sudden like accuse people of Islamophobia. So my understanding is right now the CRA is actually trying to investigate certain Islamic lobby groups to find out where they get their funding from. And those Islamic lobby groups are fighting back, and they're claiming that the CRA is being Islamophobic by wanting to find out where they get their funding from. So do you see how they keep on weaponizing Islamophobia to try and hide their true intentions and hide where they get their funding and money from? And by the way, the Muslim Brotherhood, again, it's a terrorist entity that's banned in various Middle Eastern countries, yet they operate freely in Canada. All right, so let me finish off this article here. When such ideas enter classrooms, they politicize education and cultivate grievance-based identity politics, the first step towards radicalization. Confronting this crisis requires more than moral outrage. Lawmakers must give Canada's intelligence and law enforcement agencies, particularly CSIS and RCMP, the resources and authority to direct and dismantle extremist influence operations before they turn violent. Guys, I used to be a lawmaker and I was raising awareness about this, and then these groups actually accused me of Islamophobia, and then I was kicked out of my party because I was literally raising awareness about what is being spoken about in this article right now. This is how far they have infiltrated and indoctrinated politics in Canada, right? So, publicly funded religious and community organizations should face strict transparency requirements and audits to ensure compliance with anti-terrorism laws. I 100% agree with this. This is something that I was pushing for. And yet I was told this is Islamophobic. And why is it that it's only one group of people who complain about this? No other religious entity or religious organization or religious community center has any problem with, you know, being transparent and being open about what happens with, you know, behind closed doors and where they get their funding from. Why is it only certain mosques, right? And we already know the answer. I shared the answer with you in the beginning. It's those mosques that are literally holding vigils for Islamic terrorists that do not want anyone to know where they get their funding from. Canada should follow the example of Europe, where several countries are belatedly waking up to the radicalization threat. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni recently introduced legislation requiring mosques to disclose their finances and tightening control over Islamic educational institutions. I 100% agree with this. This is what we need in Canada as well. Last month, France shut down a popular Islamist seminary that legitimized jihad and Sharia law. Guys, like these cultural institutions and organizations and schools, right? So-called Islamic cultural centers and mosques and schools are literally promoting jihad and Sharia law in Western countries. They are coming into your countries, they are infiltrating, they are promoting jihad and radicalization. This isn't something I'm making up, this is something that's literally happening. And yet, when you try to shine a light on it, they accuse you of Islamophobia, right? And a major Danish party has proposed banning Islamic schools and foreign funding of mosques in its election platform. I 100% agree with this. We 100% need this. Such measures would prevent Canadian institutions from becoming conduits for imported divisive ideologies. But legislation alone won't suffice. The battle against radicalization is as much cultural as it is legal. When young Canadians are taught that Nasrallah and Hamas fighters are heroes and that condemning militants is racism, the groundwork for extremism is already in place. I 100% agree with this. This is one of the big problems that we have. Those of us who are from the Middle East, those of us who recognize and understand what Islamic terrorism looks like, when we try to call it out, we're accused of being Islamophobic or bigot or racist. The racism one always gets me, guys, because again, like, how am I being racist for calling out Islamic terrorism? Islam is not a race. It's an ideology, right? It's an ideology. And if you're promoting Islamic terrorism, of course it needs to be called out, right? Countering this requires parents, educators, and community leaders who are willing to unapologetically defend liberal democratic values and to confront uncomfortable truths about where extremist ideologies are taking root. The uncomfortable truth is that they're taking root in mosques. We have to call a spade a spade. They're taking root in certain mosques that have certain allegiances to Islamic terrorist groups. The danger of complacency cannot be overstated. Islamist radicalization is no longer a foreign problem. It is a Canadian one. I 100% agree. It is a Canadian one. It has been a Canadian problem for quite a while. People just have not woken up to it yet. It thrives where tolerance is mistaken for indulgence and where free speech is confused with the right to glorify terror. Guys, this is so important. Free speech, but here's the thing. They don't confuse free speech with the right to glorify terror. These Islamists are taking advantage of the free speech laws in Canada to glorify Islamic terrorism. Left unchecked, it will corrode the very pluralism that defines Canada, erode public trust, and strain relations with allies who expect this country to stand firm in the fight against extremism. The lesson from Windsor is clear. Again, that's the Windsor Mosque that's openly glorifying Islamic terrorists. The lesson from Windsor is clear. Youth radicalization is happening in plain sight. It begins with the normalization of hate, the rebranding of killers as martyrs, and the silence of a society that's unwilling to confront its vulnerabilities. Canada still has time to act, but not much. Guys, this radicalization threat in Canada is much more serious than you might think. It has been going on for a while. And again, I'm going to play this video message for you, and I'm going to end my show here. Make sure that you tune in tomorrow for part 2. We're going to dive into the radicalization problem in the United States. We're going to talk about Dearborn, Michigan. We're going to talk about the recently foiled Islamist plot, right? Terrorism plot in Dearborn, Michigan. But I want to end with this video. I cannot play this video enough. It is a message from the Foreign Affairs Minister of the United Arab Emirates back in 2017. And this is what he said about the rise of Islamic terrorism in Europe and in Western countries. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's daily live stream of The Goldie Show. Please make sure that you follow me on YouTube, like, and subscribe. I'll be back tomorrow at 12 noon for another episode. And guys, we are going to do another watch party tonight. So for those of you who don't know, in the evenings, I go live at 8 p.m. Eastern. We watch a documentary about Iran, and myself and other Iranians in the YouTube live stream, we do a critique. And basically, that gives non-Iranians an opportunity to learn about Iran and to know which documentaries they can recommend to their friends, because there is a lot of misinformation and disinformation about Iran, the 1979 Islamic Revolution, and what life is like for Iranians. So if you do enjoy that series, make sure you join us again at 8 p.m. Eastern tonight. And of course, keep for our members, keep an eye on our members only message board. I'll be adding a lot more content there as well. All right, guys, thank you everyone. So I'm gonna play this video, we're gonna watch it, and make sure that you tune in tomorrow at 12 noon for part 2 on radicalization in Western countries. Tomorrow we're gonna focus on the United States. Here we go.
And let me say this in English so you can understand what I'm saying.
I have translation.
No, I know you have translation, but I just want to make sure you get it right. There will come a day that we will see far more radical extremists and terrorists coming out of Europe because of the lack of decision making, trying to be politically correct, or assuming that they know the Middle East and they know Islam and they know the others far better than we do. And I'm sorry, but that's pure ignorance. And
all right, guys. Until tomorrow, پاینده ایران جاوید شاه.